Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I will be sublimating onto the Artistry textured coasters. Here's what I'll be using today. I brought out my gel plate to do some gel printing. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I've never done sublimation with my gel plate before. So I think this will be a fun little experiment. I did pull out a stamp set and an ink pad, but I kind of changed directions midway and decided to do something else instead. So even though I've pulled this out to use, especially since with sublimation, when you create your design, you do need to mirror it so that anything that needs to be legible, for example, you have to do a mirrored stamping technique. And that's perfect for gel printing because when you stamp onto your gel plate, once that transfers to your copy paper, it is mirrored. So that works perfectly. But in the end, I ended up going a different direction and I didn't use it. But I am going to start off by tracing around my coaster onto some clear acetate, or in this case, I'm just using some packaging. And this is going to give me a little bit of a preview window so that I can see as I am creating my prints that I've created a large enough pattern that will cover the entire coaster, because you do want to make sure your pattern goes off the edge. And so with gel printing, if you've never done it before, there's basically different methods for applying paint onto your gel plate. Here I'm just squeezing out some inks. These are iron-on inks by Artistry, and they are a sublimation acrylic paint. And so here you can see I'm just brayering on the paint just like you would a regular acrylic paint. Works wonderfully. Then there's methods for pulling paint off. So I've taken this bit of bubble wrap and I've pulled paint off of my gel print, but I'm actually pulling a print off of both the bubble wrap, which is on the left, and I pulled a print off of my actual gel plate on the right. So don't let any of that paint go to waste. You can use all of this paint, and there's so many different ways to create patterns and textures. So here I've pulled out a stencil, which I didn't clean my plate at all. I just stencil right on top after I pulled that first print. I am brayering on some more acrylic iron-on ink, and I'm gonna do another pull. And so you can see, you can use things from your card making, like you could use your stamps, you can use your stencils, and you can pull prints at any point in this process. So I lifted the stencil and then I pulled a print off of whatever paint was left behind. And I don't like to clean my gel print in between sessions, so I'm just gonna stick to these three colors. I'm sticking to the blue, the pink, and white, which is really a lightening medium. So it just helps to give you like a tint of whatever colors you're using. So I've got my pink here, and I'm just gonna go over that existing paint that was still on my gel print or plate, and then I'm gonna pull a print and just continue to just have fun with it. And the thing is that a lot of times I'm pulling a print with a fresh sheet of paper. Really, I've just cut down some copy paper in half because coasters are small. But you can always pull a print and then pull a print a second time right on top of it. So most of the time I do what's called mono printing. So I add everything that I want to add onto the gel plate, and then I'll pull a print and then I won't touch it again. But here I was just experimenting with a lot of different things. I've got that print of the pink coffee beans, and then I'm gonna put that right over top of this, and pull a second print on top of that. Just gives you a lot of texture, a lot of dimension, a lot of how did they do that kind of mystique. And because these iron-on ink sublimation acrylic paints are a water-based paint, cleanup is really easy. You just spray it down with water. If there's any stubborn bits, you can use a bit of warm water, maybe some soap, and that will clean up your gel plate just fine. So whenever I do gel printing for whatever purpose, I just like to do a bunch. And now I have a lot of different prints to choose from, and I've narrowed it down to these two. I'll start with 2 coasters, but I do have plenty of those prints left, so I could use those for any project really, so long as it's the right size where these prints will cover edge to edge the design. And I am using that acetate that I drew the outline of my coaster as a way to kind of preview what my coaster will look like, so that I can really just pick the placement of my coaster. So you see me do that here. I'll just move it around, and it gives me a good idea for, what area would I like. And then I can slip my coaster right underneath and then tape it down very securely with some heat-proof tape. This little contraption I have is really nice. You turn the dial and it pre-cuts your tape in these perfect lengths. It's really convenient. And so now what I'll do is I'll create a protective sandwich around my coaster and the design that it's been taped to. And the reason to do this is because when you apply heat to this, that ink will turn into a gas, and then it will permeate into your blank, which needs to have a polyester coating or be made of polyester. And so you can see I've even added a couple more layers of that protective paper, because when that ink turns into a gas, you don't want that gas floating and then attaching itself to other things like your heating tool, like your anything else that might be surrounding it. So that protective paper is meant to just capture any ink that floats out. And I am going to do a quick little peek test here just to make sure that it has transferred, and look how vibrant that is. So that is definitely transferred. It looks fabulous. If it didn't look like it transferred, you can put it under some more heat and pressure and see if that helps to complete the transfer. But both of these look like they transferred just fine. It was at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 90 seconds, and it might have actually been a little bit too long because you can see a little bit of yellowing on my protective paper, but because everything looked just perfect, I'm going to bring it out, let it cool on my silicone mat here, and once it is cool to the touch, then I'm going to peel off the design, because I don't want to move it and disturb it at all while it's cooling, just to make sure that everything settles and cools back down and that ink has transferred completely and has reformed into its solid state, but now is a permanent part of this coaster. So that's the wonderful thing about sublimation, is that it's not a layer on top of the coaster. It has become a part of this coaster now. It has changed the actual physical material of the coaster. And so this design is permanent, and it's not going to, bleed or fade. It's really gonna be it's gonna hold up. And I love the textured coaster for projects like these where it's got that very mixed media feel to it, because the texture adds a bit to the design as well. And because there's so much visual texture in how we created the design, when you go to touch it, you can kind of, feel some of that texture too. And it's just really lovely. I think it complements this technique really, really well. And you can see how vibrant the colors turn out on this coaster once it's transferred. So really awesome. Had a lot of fun playing with my gel plate. I think I might do another set of 2 coasters and in maybe a different colorway perhaps, because I still have 2 coasters left from the set. You do get a set of 4 in total when you pick up these blanks from Artistry. And I still have a lot of those prints from this session that I haven't used. And so maybe I'll turn those into other projects like little tote bags and whatnot. So, sky's the limit. I'm saving those just for other projects because why not? They're gonna keep just fine. And that way, when I want to make something, I'll have some prints ready to go. So here's a final close-up look. You can kind of see all of that texture that we printed in the design, but you can even see some of the texture from the coaster itself, which is, I think, really lovely. And I love how the colors just kind of blend in some areas, but they stayed very vibrant, like the pinks, very strong blues. Really, really love it. If you have a favorite between these two, let me know what you prefer, whether you like the coffee bean one or the bubble wrap one. Thank you so much for catching my video today, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.